Hey everybody, today I want to tackle a little DIY project, and it might be something that you've run into before where you put plants on wood tables or shelves and you end up with all kinds of little spots or damage. Well, today I'm going to try to get rid of these or at least make them look a little bit better. I've got 4 different tables, each with different problems. Some of them are caused by moisture, some of them maybe by heat or who knows what. So we're going to see what we can do. I'm bringing Liam into this mix because he has a little more experience making things look better after incidents like this. So we'll see how we can do with these.
Okay, let's look at a few of these pieces. The first one we have here that we're going to work on is a mahogany piano bench. You can see some of the damage. We've got some scratches. This would be water damage, possibly a plant or coffee. Actually, here's a coffee ring. You can see that, or a mug ring. Some scratches there. Over here, more coffee cup damage. Just general scratches, and overall, just a dirty piece. It needs to be cleaned. This piece we have is a small plant stand that my grandfather brought back from India in the 1930s. Here we have water damage. Again, coffee rings, quite a few coffee rings, so it was next to a chair. This piece here, more than likely, is the matching piece. And we can see that it's faded around the edge and dark in the middle. More than likely, that was a plant, and that the sun, it was by a window. Then this piece, actually, I have restored before. What happened here, actually a couple weeks ago, somebody put a pizza on here. Now, the pizza was on the cardboard and also on the box cardboard. So it was 2 layers of cardboard. But still, there's heat damage on there. There's rings, some coffee rings. This table is used quite a bit for entertaining, and it does get dirty and has to be cleaned periodically and restored.
Okay, so what are we going to do first?
I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to get rid of this heat mark.
So what are your tools here?
Well, first I'm going to start with, this is a flour sack cloth, but the other best thing would be like a t-shirt, just a white t-shirt or something like that.
Something not real nappy, real smooth.
You don't want nap on it, no. And I usually double it like this to start with. I wouldn't put a single sheet on, but you're just going to basically cover this up and you're going to apply heat. Now with the iron, you don't want no steam. So you want it on the highest temperature, max temperature without steam. And you're just going to kind of move it around, and you're going to be gentle with it, and you're not going to rush this process. You don't want to leave it on there too long. You're basically trying to suck out the, I'd say probably the moisture. You can see even at the little bit, you can see some change. But I'm going to keep doing this right here.
There we go.
And you can see it changing each time. See, you can see it slowly fading, slowly going away. It's the damage is quite pronounced right here, so I'm going to try and work that area a little harder. Okay, you can absolutely see it fading. We're just going to keep it. Now, sometimes you're going to do this, but sometimes if you feel like it's getting too hot, the wood is getting too hot, because you don't want to. If there's a varnish or something, you don't want to damage that either. But you can see that it's absolutely disappearing. It's absolutely disappearing. And I felt the table wasn't overly hot. So that's good. So I'm not creating more. You don't want to create more damage by doing this. You're just trying to repair. Yeah. I can see it's working quite well. And just take your time with it. There's no need to rush.
So definitely less, but we didn't get it all out, did we?
No, and I think I would just let that rest for a while, cool down, and I'll come back to it.
Sure. Do we want to try this other one over here?
Yeah, let's try this here. Okay.
We're seeing this here, this here. There's a ring there too. Does that do anything on rings, do you know?
Yeah, it should eliminate some of it, but I'm going to start with this spot right here.
So it looks as though we've gotten as far as we can using that iron and towel technique. Didn't get all of it out. You've had better success in the past, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I have had better success. But, I mean, the majority of it came out.
Yeah, so it does look better. Now, I have heard people say anytime this happens, just use mayonnaise on it. And I'm not a big fan of putting, like, things that say keep refrigerated after opening on my surfaces. So I wouldn't necessarily do that. However, some furniture polish a lot of times can cover that. But we're going to take it one step further, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm going to use a technique. Well, not technique. It's actually just a product, Howard's Restore-A-Finish.
Okay, we'll take a look and see how he does that, because this is a way to be able to fix things like this without having to do any stripping or any sanding or anything like that.
And
So
also not taking the history away from the piece.
okay, let's take a look.
Okay, what I like to use is Howard's Restore-A-Finish. What I like about this product is you look at the wood, the piece that you have, and then they have different colors that you can pick to try and match the piece of wood that you're working with. So for example, this table right here would be walnut with some inlay in it. Even though the inlay is lighter, it's not going to affect me too much when I'm doing the piece itself. So you can apply this. You can apply this with a rag. You can also use 4/0 steel wool, and I stress 4/0, which would be the finest steel wool.
So 4/0, when I'm looking at the package, is
It's got 4 zeros on it.
okay.
And you can just say, it's just the finest steel. It's called 4/0. You do not want to pour it directly onto the piece. You don't want to just dump it on there and say start over here, because what this product does, as far as I can tell, it cuts into like a top layer of the finish. And so you can end up with marks that you can see. So what I like to do is I like to work fairly fast with it. I'm not going to just pour it on. So I'm going to dip it into the piece. Now you're going to notice this right away. I'm going to put some on the mark that we had, but I'm going to go back to the corner and then work my way down. But just to start with, I'm going to show you what'll happen. I'm using the 4/0 steel wool, and I'm just kind of that area in particular. But now I'm going to work.
So how much pressure are you putting on?
Not a lot of pressure. Sometimes it depends on what kind of mark you have, but not a whole lot of pressure. But you can see that I'm kind of moving and getting everything covered, and taking my, not taking too much time.
We're also focusing on just doing the surface
Right.
right now. I mean, you could do the sides and stuff, but because only
Right.
the damage is on the top, we're going to
Yeah.
limit our area.
I'm going to limit it, and you can see it kind of soaking in. There's areas. I'm just going to, and like I said, I have done this to this table. This is probably the third time I've done it to the table, because it is used a lot, and it does get some heat damage. Sometimes people put glasses down on it.
Before you did this, did you do any cleaning of it?
Yeah, I clean this. Yeah, I take a small rag and just a little Dawn dish soap in some warm water, and I just wipe it down.
Just a little bit of
nothing
soapy water.
Soapy water, no scrubbing really or anything. But I'm just going to hand this off here, and I'm just going to continue to do just kind of following the grain like this.
And I want to emphasize, we did put a cloth down, even though we were only doing the surface, and we thought just maybe we could get away with not putting anything down. We know better. You always there's always the potential of a drop or a drip or something.
Right.
And this really is a product you need well ventilated areas. So.
Right. We should, and we have our window open over here on this side, because you want some, you want some air going through. Obviously, most of the finishing I do is outside, or restoring that I do. I'll do it outside and not inside an enclosed area. And I've pretty much done that. I don't think there's more. You can just let it sit now. I usually let this sit for, like say 20 minutes, sometimes even longer. And then I will wipe it down and wipe off the excess. But it's nice when you see sometimes it just soaks right in, and you just know that it's just, there must be some kind of an oil possibly in it too, because it seems to feed the wood quite well. Although we're going to put another finish on this after.
Do you want to work on one of these now?
Sure, yeah.
So I'll pull this away.
Pull that away.
Is this a good one, or you're still going to do the walnut, or do you want to
What
try?
do I have?
You have cherry and mahogany.
No, I'll use it. I'm going to use the walnut on this one too.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, Corey, I'm just going to let you hold that while I... And this again is the same thing. I just kind of wiped down the top. And I can see the watermarks. And so I'm going to kind of concentrate on them a little bit more. And sometimes, you do this and you'll still see some mark, but I'm a big one on maintaining the history of the piece. I feel that if there's if there's some scratches or there's some, oops, I'll do this part of it. You know, in the 70s and 80s, there was a big move to strip furniture, strip it right down and refinish it. And doing that takes all the history off of the piece. And I think they look terrible. I think that, and I did it myself, so I'm not, you know, it was something that I was very into it when I was younger, stripping the furniture down and restoring it all. I wouldn't say restoring it. I don't know what I was doing to it, just trying to bring it back to brand new. And I learned over the years, you don't want to do that. You know, that scratch, that little mark there, that scratch, that is part of the history. And you don't want to take value off of the piece by doing that. So I'd say that's good. We're going to let that sit for a while.
Are you doing this one in walnut too?
Yeah, I'll do the top. That's the same. Yeah, no. Here, Corey, I'll let you move that one out of the way. You know, and you can see right here. Just see these, the marks in the finish. You know, the dents actually. This Restor-A-Finish is not going to take those away. It is not going to take the dents out, and I don't want them. I don't want that to happen. You know, and I know that this is not going to even out the color as far as the center where the plant was sitting, and then the faded bits around. It's not going to match them, but it's just gonna bring a more cohesive look to the piece.
Now, if I didn't like that fading, would I have to then strip it? And
if you didn't like the fading, yeah, you would. I suppose you would. You'd strip it down, and you could do some oxalic acid, which is a bleaching, a wood bleacher, and it works really quite well. So now I'm gonna kind of quickly do this because I want to. You can see the scratches disappearing right away. You can see the scratches and marks going away. Okay. And this cuts into the finish. I can actually feel it when I can feel the steel wool sticking, and that's because it's cutting into the finish. Okay, now I feel I've got it covered. Now I'm going to dip it back in, and I'm going to do more. Okay, and I'm going to hand that to Corey. And yeah, I can feel it. It's absolutely, it's cutting into that top layer of.
is it like gummy?
It's scratch. It grabs it a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't feel gummy, but I definitely know I'm cutting into a bit of the finish. You know, it has a certain feeling to it. I can't quite describe it. It's like sticks and then moves. You know what I mean? It like kind of sticks. I suppose gummy would be the right word, but it's not. The whole thing isn't gummy. It's just little areas. All those marks have gone away. And I'm going with the grain. You always want to go with the grain. 4/0 steel wool. And like I said, if your piece is fairly clean, you do not have to do steel wool. You can just put it on with a cloth. I tend to almost always use the steel wool.
Okay, so this has been sitting for what, about 20 minutes?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, 15, 20 minutes. You can see where some of the finish, the Restor-A-Finish has sunk into the wood. I'm going to wipe it down now and remove the excess. So you'll see what's happened here. You can just see it totally brings it back. Now, I'm going to point out that you will see a slight bit where that mark was. You will see that. There's one there and right there.
Oh yeah.
That's the heat, but it's so much better. It's totally, you know, faded into the background. Okay, now what I'm going to add is some Howard feed-in wax. It's a wood polish conditioner. It's beeswax and orange oil, and I really like it. I use some of these staining pads to apply it. Sometimes I even put it on with my hands, but it's quite thick. You can see, and I use it very liberally because I really want to feed this wood, especially if something's been a piece of wood that's really dried out. So I'm very I'm not shy with putting it on anyway. Okay, let's see. Put that down. Now, this you'll just see it. You can put it on, and you don't have to worry about it like the Restor-A-Finish where it cuts into the finish. This does not. This just feeds it, and it's just Now, as I'm going over that one area, I'm looking down at it and I can still see a little bit of the mark, but so little of it that it doesn't bother me a bit. And I will be honest, I put this on, I leave it on for a while. I have left this on overnight, and just let it soak in, and you'll come in and you'll see a lot of it has soaked in, and then I just wipe it down. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to wipe off the excess on this too. This has been on for about 20 minutes. Now I'll grab the other one here. The one I did had the plant on it. This one just had some general damage to it. Again, these tables I'm not particularly sure what kind of wood it is, but I just love how it's just brought this piece back to life, and it just looks so much better. And again, in the light, you can see the dings and the scratches. This will not take that out. You'd have to sand it. If you wanted to take those out, you'd have to sand it. So let's just take the two tables, and you can see the tops. You know, you still know that the one was with the plant, but the only one that I see, like I said, I see this little mark. I'd like to have that go away more, but I'll work on it more to see what I can do with that. But I'm still very happy.
Work on it more with using the Howard's.
I would use the Howard's Restor-A-Finish and steel wool, and maybe take that down a little bit more. I was focused over here on some other pieces or other parts of the top. So yeah, but in general, I'm really happy with both of those. I think they look 100% better. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Howard oil.
Are you going to still do the one that you're going to work on?
Yeah, I will, because I'm happy with that. I'm just going to, maybe in a year from now, I'm going to go back to this and do another. Because what's going to happen is people are going to use this table again, and there'll be other marks possibly on it. So I said we'll just do this, and it just feeds the wood so beautifully. Wood dries out, and it can really...
And I've seen you just use the feed and wax on a piece without doing anything.
Absolutely.
And it changed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in fact, I have a couple of pieces in my studio right now that I'm probably going to do that too, because the finish is actually quite beautiful. And some of the tables are very, very old, but I'm not going to have to do much to them.
I should note the Restor-A-Finish doesn't work on polyurethane or plastic type products.
No, polyurethane, it would not work.
And there's a quick way of testing that, and I'll show you real quick. If you put this is just some alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and I put it on a Q-tip, and if you go to kind of an obscure spot of the piece and you just rub it on, and you look, but if that color does come off, then you know that the Restor-A-Finish will work on it. If you do it on polyurethane,
no, the Restor-A-Finish on polyurethane, remember, polyurethane is a plastic. Or a plastic type material anyway, let me say that. I don't really know the chemical compound. But so now those two tables, I'll let them sit.
Are you ready for the...
Yeah, let's do the mahogany piano bench.
This one is incredible.
Yeah, it really helped out. Now, as I'm looking at this, however, I can tell you that there is some of the finish is missing. Actually, it's down to the wood there and there. There's actually finish. It might have been when somebody sat on it and slid across it. Now I'm just going to put a little of the wax here. Corey wants me to show you on the front. Here, I'm just going to put the wax on the front of it. Even the wax is going to just take some of the marks out and really, really blend.
So there's no Restor-A-Finish.
There's no Restor-A-Finish on it. That's just the wax. Okay. That's just the wax.
And that was kind of looking a little dry and dingy before. Yeah. Now it matches the top.
It does. It brings it up. And this is going to also help have some of that stuff, the marks, kind of disappear a bit. But more than likely, down the road, I may strip the top of this. Like a piece like this, I wouldn't hesitate even using a polyurethane, because it is going to be used where people could be putting coffee cups and things on there, or drink glasses, and that could damage the finish. So, but those other three pieces that I showed you, no, I would never refinish them. I would never strip those, I should say. Never. So the feed and wax that I have here has been on for about 2 hours. And I can see, looking straight down, that there's some areas where it's dried in already. And obviously that soaks into the wood, and the wood needs to be fed. All wood needs to be fed. Otherwise it'll just dry out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically take it off. wipe it off, I should say. Much of this has soaked in, which is wonderful. You can just tell that the wood is, I should say, is happy with this because it just really helps. Now this is a table that I use all the time. So it does get marked, it does get rings on it, it does have food spilled on it. And so once a year maybe, I'll do a little bit of a Restor-A-Finish and then feed it with the wax. But in between time, I will feed this with the orange oil and the beeswax. Now, if you look at it, you can still see where some of that mark is, you know. But it doesn't bother me because, like I said, this is really utilitarian. It's used a lot. This is not something that's just used once a year. So, you know, there's a little bit of a mark there, but it looks 100% better than that big white mark that you saw.